Hello, hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Happy to be here with such powerful and amazing loan officers. Today's podcast is Winning with Your Lender, episode number 4 here at our 24/7 Realty family. I'd like to introduce our 3, I don't think you guys are panelists. What do you call on a podcast? 3 guests.
Three guests.
Yes, I like
3
that.
guests.
Podcasters.
3 podcasters.
Podcastees.
Podcastees.
Don't get him started. He will never.
We'll start with the lovely
never
Griselda.
Well,
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Lovely to be here.
Thank you for being here. Chuck Flair. Charles Flair.
Charles. Frederick.
Charles
LaFleur.
Frederick
Flair.
Flair. That sounds like some royalty name.
It does.
It
Yes.
has a royal fling to it.
Yes, there's been many kings in the history and princes named Charles.
Prince Charles.
Charles Frederick II.
I think it was more the last name than anything.
Yeah,
La Flair.
the Canadian king.
And to my left is Christian DeAnda.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Definitely not Mexican royalty.
Christian.
Christian, that's right. That's his new Zoom name. Well, thank you guys. I wanted to invite you guys here because as we were thinking of, what are some topics that, as far as agents want to know from lenders, and also I think the public, just in general, people wanting to buy, is a little bit about, about what you guys do, what makes you guys successful, and then as far as the relationships between agents and lenders, what makes a good partnership and things of that sort. So let's get started. So let's start off by, I want to hear a little bit about how long have you been in the business? Just sum it up for us so that people know who's on this podcast.
Well, my name is Griselda. I've been in the industry since 2013, so that's about 9 years now.
Wow.
Chuck introduced me to the industry, and I've been a junior processor. What else have I been?
Processor. Loan assistant.
Loan officer assistant, and now newly licensed. So,
Yay. So you've seen it all from different points
yes, I have.
of the transaction. That's awesome.
And I think that just being with a top producer since starting the business, it has taken me to be a top producer as well. Like, learn from the best. It's always like, I was blessed to be introduced to the industry from a top producer, and I stayed with him since. So I've never moved from his side, which, yes, it takes a lot, but
You've seen it all.
it has been a blessing.
Nice. Love it.
So,
Mr. Charles Frederick Chuck Flair.
Chuck LaFleur. I've been in the business since 2005. Started at a bank at American Home Mortgage, and then got into the wholesale side, and then that evolved into our mini correspondent side. Now back in banking, so 17 years I think it is now.
Full circle.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, pretty cool. So I've seen quite a bit. Seen the market go up, down, up again, down again, up again,
Nice.
down again. Now up. So, seen it all so far.
Well, we are grateful to have you here.
Awesome.
Christian.
Hello, my name is Christian. I'll be going on my 7th year this year. Definitely, it's been a challenge. Not a career that I had ever thought I would be in, but definitely very challenging, but at the same time very rewarding.
And I remember on the last podcast, you thought you were going to be a salsa dancer.
I was going to be a salsa dancer / comedian. I was, but you can't pay your bills dancing and telling jokes.
Well, some can.
Sometimes.
Awesome. Well, great. We had a lot of experience. I think you guys have seen it all. So let's head into it. So what qualities I want to hear for those maybe listening who are thinking about getting into the loan business, or maybe new agents looking to see who they can partner up and work with the loan officer. What qualities do you feel make for a great loan officer? Anyone is fine.
So I've been asked that question actually a lot. And because in the past, we used to have to meet with a lot of agents, and they'd say, well, what makes you different? You know? And I'll be honest with you, a lot of times when I've asked this to other loan officers, they say, well, you know, you got to be available. You know, you got to do a good job on the loan. You got to have great rates. You got to do this. You got to do that. And I got to be honest with you, that's basic stuff. That's very basic. I mean, yeah, you need to answer your phone on the weekend, obviously, right? I mean, to say that you are easy to get a hold of, that's not really a skill. That's, you should just be like that. That should be automatic, right?
Par for the course.
Obviously, it's definitely important to do full pre-approvals to make sure you know what you're doing, so you don't, something doesn't backfire on you later on. You know, I mean, there's a lot of those things, and obviously you need to be a great communicator, and even if things are tough, make sure you're communicating depending on what's happening. But those really are not the things that I think that make for a great lender. Those are like your basic things. I think the most important things really are, as a loan officer, it's highly important to be relationally based. Focus on the relationships. It's the most important thing with the client and with the agent and with your affiliates. That's really got to be the number one thing more than anything else, right? And as a loan officer, you got to find ways to create value for those relationships, you know? I mean, it could be helping your client get their offer accepted. It could be helping them explain the process in terms of what, because a lot of times it's always important to remember when a client is purchasing a home, especially if it's a first-time home buyer, they're making the biggest financial decision of their entire life. They're probably going to be a little nervous, you know, so your job is to kind of help them through that. You know, one of the best ways to do that is to teach them. Be a great teacher. Explain to your colleagues and your agents you work with why things are the way they are. Explain to the clients what this is and why that is. And so when you get good at doing that, I think that you're able to help your clients make good decisions and help them more easily get through a transaction. So because if the client can go through the transaction and feel great about it, like it wasn't so scary, they're 10 times more likely to refer you, to make the agent look great. So it's a matter of just having the relationship and making that relationship even better, you know, by just doing those things, you know. So.
I love it. One thing I wrote down, because I spoke to a couple agents, like, what do you guys look for in a loan officer? What's important to you? And one thing that I read and I heard over and over again was they prioritize relationship over immediate dollars.
Yeah.
So over the dollar of just making whatever you guys make on the commission side, a prioritized relationship. So that's
100%.
right on point for what you said.
Yeah.
Thank you. Griselda.
Well, I think that I'm relationship based. So to me, building and creating that relationship, not only with your agent, but with your client is key. And to adding to the relationship is being knowledgeable to be the best in guiding them the correct way of doing things. Because I think that they're putting all of their trust in you. So you need to correctly guide them and also give value, like you said, to your agent as well. Because the agent is the face of the whole transaction. Yeah. So when you invest in that and you invest in your agents in probably doing like a lending 101, they're your best referral source as well. So to me, it's relationship 100%, but also be knowledgeable enough to guide correctly.
Sharing that knowledge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. I like that. Christian DeAnda.
For me, I would say it's three things. One, I would start off with empathy. I always tell people agents work with buyers and sellers' dreams, and we work with their fears, because everyone dreams about their future experiences in this house or fall in love with, but everyone's afraid to talk about their credit scores or their income. Yeah. So again, you have to empathize with people, because it's a very scary situation for many people to have to divulge such personal information. Second is about being flexible. I always say being a loan officer is like building a plane while you're flying it, and so there's so many things that can go wrong. You just got to be flexible and just go with it. And third, it's being creative. I always tell, even though I'm in no shape or form an attorney. We feel kind of we're like mini lawyers in the sense that we have to put together this story, and our judge and jury is the underwriter. So I need to know how to properly tell this story with documents and letters of explanation. So you have to be creative in that sense. Because again, I've seen the experience where I got something done that made another loan officer didn't, and it's just the way you package it to basically the judge.
Love that. I love your analogies. And it goes along with something that I wrote down is transparency.
Yes.
And right, because I think that's another quality that I see from agents is not hiding things when things don't go right. Yeah. When you have to break the news to the agent or to the client, is being transparent and how you're communicating that and how creative you are, and so that's great. Thank you guys. So you guys are all successful. Whether Griselda, you've been around a top producer and you've seen it all, and you've been on different sides of the transaction. And Chuck, you're a top producer. You've been in the business for the longest here. Christian, 7 years, you're a top producer.
I'm not dead yet.
We'll get into that part of it, how to stay alive. What do you feel has been a contributor to your success? We'll start with Chuck.
Yeah, honestly, the industry I was in before was definitely the number one contributing factor because I was just in sales, right? And I was recently asked, how do you mentor the young guys that are in your branch? And I said, well, the most important thing is you got to get them in real life situations right now, right? I mean, for the ones I can tell that are going to be the most successful are the ones that get the most scenarios, So, I mean, so they got to put them in positions where they can get the most scenarios put together. Because a loan officer can really only grow so much on a hypothetical situation. They can only learn so much out of a book or watching a video or whatever, But you got to get them into situations where they're getting real scenarios. Hey, I got this client that wants to do this, or I have this agent ask me this, or this and that. So the job is, what's helped me before is to get myself into a position where I can work with the most amount of people, right? So it's just, this game, it's just like any other sales in real life. But it is leads, appointment, shows, and sales. The sale is really more the building of the relationship more than it is the selling of a house. The selling of the house or the loan and all that stuff, that's actually just the after the fact thing, So for me, it's just the sales I was in before. I worked at 24 Fitness for a very long time, and I think I sold more things there just because it was such a high volume club. And I just got really used to it, making presentations and overcoming objections and helping to explain things to people in such a way. It was really got to the point where it was sales without sales. I just helped them make a decision, So I would say that was the number one. Being in that industry before coming into this was the number one thing for sure.
Do you remember what has been your most challenging file? Like, is there one that has stood out that was like a miracle that you got through?
I don't want to say one particular file because they're all so different. I do, however, remember my first year in the business, because now everything for the most part is full documentation. Everyone's pretty much, apart from some of your non-QM stuff. But back then it was like so many different programs. And it was like, there was full doc, stated income, stated assets. You would think like there's just so many, and coming in, I'm like, I don't understand why everything is so different. It's just like, it seems like it's easier now. Actually, the harder it is to qualify, the easier it is for me to understand because it's just very dialed in. So I think more than a particular file, I think it was just that time my brain kind of, like I would remember like waking up in the middle of the night and sweat. Oh, I think I forgot this, or I think I forgot that, or what about this, what about that, And I had to learn to trust myself. So that was probably more stressful than anything, more than one particular file, really. So I would say.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Greece.
Yes. I was trying to think of a difficult file, and there was one particular file where Chuck was the loan officer, and it was a VA purchase. I don't know why I never forgot this file, because I was also trying to understand how we were going to make that deal work. I can't remember the last name. But we were about to close, and this veteran decides to go and buy furniture. So he went and bought, I think it was a refrigerator, a stove, and
Yeah.
so we ended up having to closing and refinancing again.
Yeah.
It was horrible. I think that I did not sleep like for
was
2
after the fact.
days.
Yeah.
Yes.
They found out he purchased something from the time it funded to the time it was going to get purchased in between. Yeah. That's what it was.
That's happened to me where my clients ended up going to Disneyland because they were about to take on a larger a mortgage, a payment that they weren't used to. So they said, let's just go have one last vacation and just have a fun time. But they had a real fun time. I mean, Disneyland resort tickets, all that. I think it was a couple $1,000s that they spent. And I got a call from the loan officer saying, guess what? Your clients did.
Yeah. Wow.
And now it's an issue. So it caused delays and, oh man. So yeah,
Those are horror stories.
I'm sure there's many of those last minute furniture shopping. That's what you get a lot. Furniture shopping,
Yeah.
going and spending on a vacation or
Well, they get so excited and they don't, I just don't understand how they decide not to listen. I'm not going to listen to what you're saying, and I'm going to go and spend this money that I don't have to spend, or I don't have to open new accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I currently have a refi where the gentleman is refining his primary residence, and we're supposed to close yesterday, and then they do a credit refresh, and it turns out he bought another house or co-signed on a house last month without telling us. So now he's an owner of another house, not fully, but he co-signed with a friend.
Oh, well.
And so we're like, damn. And now he's avoiding us. And his mother called me today. So I literally had to tell his mom, hey, your son did this. And he hasn't been giving us any paperwork. And so I had to explain to the underwriter that I had to get his mom involved, which was really weird because they're all adults.
I'm going to call your mom.
well, there it goes back to the creative part that you guys have to do, the challenge. And Griselda, what do you feel from you've seen a lot of loan officers and you've interacted on the processing side and assisting side. What have you seen that attributes to a loan officer's success?
I would say, like you mentioned earlier, transparency. That would be number one. And communication are side by side. I think you need to be transparent, and it doesn't matter how bad the situation is. You need to communicate either to your agent or to your client. And but communication is key as well. Yep. So yeah, I think that those two go hand in hand.
I think you hear that over and over. If you line up 20 realtors, they'll all say probably communication, and ties into the transparency, ties into just being open and teaching.
Yeah. 100%. You just got to be I love the analogy Christian said about it's like flying a plane that's not built. It makes me think of like Madagascar too. When they're flying. Like, remember that plane? It's just like, it's like things are going to come up because there's only, you can do a really, really good job and cover everything, but some form of variability will come up during the transaction of something, and when that happens, you just got to, what's the solution going to be? And then let the agents know. Check it out. This is where we're at right now. So you understand this is going to be a delay. Right now, I'm telling you right now. So you understand. And they may not want to hear it, but it doesn't matter if they don't want to hear it. They need to hear it. Yeah. You know what I mean? They need to know, okay, this is the situation. The client did this, or this is what came up, or whatever. And this is what it's going to be. And you just got to learn to detach yourself from that, Mm-hmm. So a client, they got to pay $30K more because they decided to take out a car loan last week. Well, decided to take car loan. I was like, told you not to. So this is what it is. Pay it off.
And I think sometimes it's clients they're just getting fed so much information.
Yeah.
And they're thinking about so much, not only the numbers, but the home search, but, packing and everything else that's going to impact their life that perhaps you're saying, don't do this, but it just goes over their head because it's not that they're intentionally going out and doing something against what you guys are telling them not to do. It's just so much that perhaps they're not retaining or paying attention to the minor details.
Also, too, before the transaction starts, like I have a file right now. I'm looking at it. The whole thing is going to hinge upon what the appraiser will say that this particular property's marketable rent will be. And I know an underwriter is going to say, well, we're going to take the lease, but we're going to take what the maybe Zillow says or whatever. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're going to need to go a little harder than that. Get me some rental comps just so I can make it look better and tell a good story, like he said, you know?
Yeah.
But you got to, if they know that that's going to be the case up front, then they're not going to be so freaked out about in the middle of the transaction when if it comes up.
Yep.
You addressed it. Remember in the beginning I told you this? Okay, that's where we're at. So
Yep.
here's how we'll handle it, though, at least. You know?
Yep. Christian, I mean, I've seen you throughout the years, and you're very successful, and you do things, I think, very creative in your own. Not only are you creative with your files, but you're creative in your business. So what do you feel attributes to your success?
Well, one thing first and foremost, I think I learned this trying to do comedy is kind of explaining things in a way that people can understand. I know when I first bought my first house, I was a loan officer back then, and the realtor I worked with just gave me his loan officer's name. The guy just took my documents and here's your pre-approval letter. Didn't explain anything. Never explained what debt to income ratio was, and even if he had done it, probably just told me what DTI meant. I would have thrown a bunch of acronyms at me. I wouldn't have understood anything. So I think I'm very good, kind of explaining the things that I need them to understand in a way that's very relatable. So sometimes instead of saying, hey, you know, you make $68,000 and your debt to income is this, I just say, look, let's just assume you make $1,000 a month. Out of those $1,000, 45% or $450 of those $1,000 can be used for a mortgage payment. So I make things really relatable and very understandable so they feel informed. So I think that's made me successful in that sense that, you know, I just make it relatable. I know when I first was hired, actually was hired by Max, your partner here at 24/7, he made me take a DISC assessment.
Yes.
And I also try to relate to people's kind of personalities, whether they're all about the facts, whether they're about the emotional feeling about it, so that, you know, we're on the same wavelength. And lastly, I try to be humble because in our industry, you can make a lot of money. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of people go from nothing to a lot, and it makes them feel arrogant. And again, go back to empathy. You know, yes, you might have all your financial needs fulfilled and even more, but again, you're helping people who are in a very vulnerable position. So it's about being able to relate to them, even if, you know, you really are not on their level at the moment.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
100%.
So let's talk about how do you guys are all successful. How do you get majority of your business? Like where does your business come from?
You're Mexican. You have a lot of family.
And there's more coming across the border every day.
I say that's why relationships are key. So for me, being a new loan officer, I said it.
You said it. Say it again. Say it again.
Being a new loan officer.
I'm a new loan officer.
New loan officer, not a doctor.
I told her when I hired her, it's like, you know that 1-900 job? You'd be really good at that.
I know I would. Single mom life.
There's OnlyFans now. You don't have to pick up the phone anymore.
Oh, my God.
Relationships, referrals, and past clients. So that for me, that would be I'm starting to build my pipeline and my ways of doing things, which I have no idea how that's going to go. But I think just having good relationships and knowing a lot of people. So that would be for me.
So how do you, question for you on
Yes.
that. How are you going to stay in touch with them, or how are you staying in touch with people?
The building the relationship is key, and it's first. After that, it's just thank you card here and there. Once you close, I think it's very important to keep in touch with that real estate agent and knowing their kid's name and if they're married, single, and those little touches of, hey, thank you for your business. Here's your Starbucks card or whatever it is, going out to lunch. It's just having that personal connection with people. And it doesn't take time, and it doesn't take $1 million. It's just having that attention.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. And it has to be genuine. It's not because you want to or they're giving you something. It's like you also need to give back. So I
Love that. Yeah, and you're so great at that.
Well, thank you
You're
so
just
much.
a natural.
Yes.
It's just you love me. That's why. So.
I think the answer to where would I get most of my business from, it kind of changes depending on the kind of market we're in. Right now, we're in a very heavy purchase market, right? Which is, I love it because it's a lot of new relationships, right? I mean, because in the history, we've been in so many refi booms in the last 10 years. I mean, I think we had like 3 or 4 major ones where you just get a ton of past clients. That's one bucket. But ultimately, every transaction you do falls into a past client bucket. And if you did a great job with that person, you educated them, you took a good care of them, you're very answered their phone, all those things, then those guys they'll come back to you automatically. Just never change your phone number and be accessible and have great communication and all that stuff and save their name in your phone, all that. But right now it's purchase. So for me, it's very, very mixed. There's some of our stuff's coming from our realtor partners here at 24/7 South, which is great. In fact, majority of my purchases are coming from there, which is awesome. But on those transactions, we're coming in contact with a ton of listing agents because we're calling the listing agents every single time and just try to get the offers accepted. And then we get that offer accepted, do a great job with that agent, and then they start referring business over. You just got to be willing to do what other people don't. Like, and it's very simple. Just communicate and be on it and make sure your team does a good job. So agents, listing agents, right? The clients themselves, right? I mean, I find that we get a lot of referrals from the clients we're working with. I also find that sometimes the clients we get pre-approved kind of stray and go to another agent for some reason. Sometimes that happens, right? And then you get another agent, and it's repeat web, I mean, we have our awesome lead sources too. We have VA seminars. We've got Zillow Flex. We've got a bunch of lead programs that's coming in too. But I would say the majority of them are from the more relationship-based ones. In the end, they all fall into the past client bucket, which is great. And that's, we got to love them. We love our past clients, So we keep in touch with them a number of ways. Our systems automatically hit them up and just say hello. They're always reaching out. I almost get called from every one of them during tax time. Just because my property taxes are impounded, right? Yeah. Because I just got a bill. Yeah, remember that? And then I'll take the time to talk to them, It's good to catch up with them.
Definitely.
So
Nice.
I think I would add to that having a great system as well, because you can have a great relationship with them and then not back it up having a great system to close their deals. So I think that's a big one of ours.
Yeah. And a system
strengths.
to stay in touch with them,
Yes.
to stay in touch with past clients, right? Because you have to have a system
Yeah.
to do that.
definitely.
Love it.
For me, kind of similar to Chuck, I think falls into 2 buckets, and then one of those buckets divided into 2. One is obviously past clients. If you did a good job, they're welcome to refer to you, especially if you did purchases and went to refis. And then, to me, I've always been a very purchase-heavy loan officer. So it is keeping the relationships that I had when I first started. So when I first started, all I can do was just offer my time for open houses. It was just, I'm going to just offer you the time and effort and just work my ass off for you. Now that I know a lot, it's also mentoring younger agents because I've been around, I've seen a lot, and I can say, hey, I know you're the agent and I'm the lender, but based on what you're telling me, maybe think about doing this or that. And so being able to add that added value of, besides just being able to do a loan, is giving them guidance on how to be also a successful agent. Since I've gotten to work with some of the best, agents here in San Diego, and I've learned a lot from them.
I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, I had a conversation with an agent last night. We got a counter because we were expecting acceptance, and we got a counter. He sent me the counter. I'm looking at the counter. I'm like, okay. I'm like, is this a seller multiple? She's like, it is a seller multiple. I'm like, okay, all right. But I'm looking at it, I'm like, this isn't so bad. Like, yeah, but 10 days on the appraisal? I'm like, on the 19th? I'm like, it's only the 8th. We can totally do that. We can make it that day. Yeah. I'm like, all right, well, you got to know what you're looking at. As a loan officer, you got to know the RPA and know the counters because they are directly tied to your turn times, especially if there's the words no appraisal contingency. Yes. You know what I mean? All right, so how are we going to get out of this if the appraisal doesn't come in? That's the one right there. Right there. We can get out on that inspection. That's all the way to the 19th. We can totally get it done by then. We'll know. Yep. For sure. I'll make sure. But and then you back your agent up, right? And then they're like, okay, all right, I guess I could explain it that way to my client, So you just got to help them help their clients make decisions sometimes,
Yep. Yep.
So I agree with that for sure.
Well, that
100%.
leads me into the next question, I should say, is how do you work well with your realtor to get those offers accepted? We know that right now it's a tough market to get offers accepted, and we need that little. As agents, we're teaching our agents to do, everything here and there to make communications and connect with the listing agent and be thorough on that and follow up and write the best possible offer. But it takes a team effort. It takes the
100%.
loan officer to assist with that. So what do you guys do that's maybe different that you want to share to help the agents when you partner with them?
Timing is key, and I would extend it not just to loan officers, but the loan assistants as well. So in our squad, our loan assistants are available on the weekends for sure. Because, we could be on our way to go do something or whatever. Hey, I need to write an offer. No problem. We have people on standby to grab the file, hop in, run DU, NLP, see if they get a waiver or not, and send an updated pre-approval letter and the DU over to the agent and just get it over to them right there and then. They got to be available. Again, that just comes down to extension of availability, even if it's Saturday night. We've been going through, or we'll walk into the weekend with 5 or 6 offers out total, and we'll end up on Sunday night at like 18 to 20 offers went out. That seems when people were looking at properties. That's number one. But every single time, you can't be lazy. You got to call that listing agent, even if it's, don't wait till Monday morning. Call them on that day. Leave the message. Let them know how strong the client is, that we can close on. That we can close. Let them know a little bit about them. This is why they're strong. Here's how fast we can close. Here's a little bit of our process. You go through those things. It's when you have a strong system of actually processing, you can kind of brag about it a little bit and just let them know that we will perform in 15 days and get this thing closed. The listing agent will feel good about that.
Yeah, I love that. You'd be surprised at how many loan officers don't call.
A lot of them don't.
Yes, they don't.
And I think it comes down to this. I get clients ask me, can I have the pre-approval letter? I'm like, sure, you can send it, but we're not going to use this to write an offer. And they'll say, well, why? We have a way about writing offers that we're going to go about to ensure that your offer will get accepted. Like, I definitely don't allow any agents to have any changeable PDFs or anything like that. I want to know if that offer is going out, because I want to know, number one, especially if I can get an appraisal waiver, you want to know that. No contingencies. Cool. Let's go.
That is my favorite word right
I
now.
love
Appraisal waivers.
It's the best. That's one thing we
Magical.
do. Yeah. Structure a good offer. Also, we might know the agent too. That's important.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I guess being in the business and connecting relationships, that goes a long way.
Yep.
Love it. Griselda,
Yes.
what about you?
Well, he's my teacher, so I follow. And I think that when was it that we started using the loan officer assistants to get the offers? Before that, it was like no weekends available for us.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I know about
It's like the second you finish them, you're in the car, got to go back to your house.
Yeah, it's like, where are you? Not home? Well, you need to go back. It was like, so it got a little bit crazy, but I would not do it any other way. I think that your agent and your client deserve